Hey guys, June here, and in this video I want to do something completely different from anything that I've done previously. This idea came from a few conversations that I had in the RS Unity clan chat, and some people said that it was interesting enough that they thought I should make a video series about it. I certainly find these kinds of discussion interesting, but I'm going to rely completely on you guys and your feedback on this video as to whether or not this video series continues or whether we sweep it under the rug and never speak of it again. Just to give a short intro to this video, in my day job, I'm a psychologist, and as you might expect when you're dealing with an MMORPG with thousands of other players, each with unique personalities and behaviors, human psychology plays a huge role in shaping the community and how it behaves. This video series, if you guys should choose that it continues, will look at deconstructing human psychology and looking at how it impacts on your gameplay experience as well as your interactions with other people online. As a final note, before you make any kind of snap judgments, I just want to say that these videos will be very easy to make, and so if you guys should choose that this series continues, it won't detract from the quantity or the quality of the other videos that I'll be able to produce regarding PvM and combat-related content. So with all that said, let's start our first video by taking a look at the psychology of elitism. Generally speaking, elitists come in two types. On the left you have individuals who are very highly skilled, and they hold themselves and others to an extreme level of performance. They generally have little or no patience, even when they're teaching individuals who are just learning a boss for the first time. Individuals like this are actually very few and far between, and generally speaking comprise only a very tiny minority of what people would generally consider to be elitists, and for the sake of this video we're going to completely disregard this category. You're much more likely to have encountered the other type of elitists, and their behavior is far more iconic. These are the type of individuals that are somehow simultaneously totally incompetent at whatever activity they seem to be doing, but hold themselves in incredibly high regard in terms of skill. During team encounters, when other individuals make a mistake, they're likely to attack and denigrate them for their absence of skill. However, when they make a mistake, they're quick to pass the blame or make excuses like, "I lagged, I DC'd." They're also likely to disregard any kind of advice or constructive criticism you give them because of their own inflated sense of skill. So how on earth can a person simultaneously be wildly incompetent yet believe that they're God's gift to PvM? That's where these guys come in. David Dunning and Junesong were the first individuals to experimentally observe what we now know as the Dunning-Kruger Effect. This first observation came from a series of experiments that were done at Cornell University in 1999, and in short summary, students were given a series of tests to measure their aptitude in a variety of different areas, and in addition they were asked to report their subjective assessment of their own performance without being given the opportunity to review their actual scores beforehand. The Dunning-Kruger effect is the name that we've given the human psychological bias that concerns the disparity between an individual's actual ability and their perception of their ability. Here's a simple graph representing their findings. The dotted line reflects the individual's actual performance, while the solid line represents their subjective assessment of their performance. Here we can see that individuals on the very bottom end of actual performance tended to dramatically overestimate their competency. Conversely, individuals at the very top level of performance had a tendency to slightly underestimate their performance. What was even more surprising about these findings is just how prolific they turned out to be. This same bias turned up in almost any field you could think of. People's perception of their driving, people's perception of their physical attractiveness or strength, people's perception of their intelligence, people's perception of their aptitude with a musical instrument. Any example you can think of, this same bias cropped up. Personally, I think John Cleese said it best.
I think the problem with people like this is that they are so stupid that they have no idea how stupid they are.
In fact, this is so widespread that I'm almost certain that you've encountered this in your day-to-day life. I'm sure we all have that one Facebook friend who is adamantly convinced of some absurd notion like shape-shifting reptilian aliens control the United States government, and is simultaneously convinced that he's the only person with access to the truth and everyone else is delusional. In closing, I'm sure the question on all of your minds is, how do we counteract this bias? Lucky for us, the first step is simply knowing about this bias, and having that knowledge allows us the ability to notice those behaviors in ourselves and circumvent them in a small way. In addition to that, Dunning and Kruger were later able to identify that even a small amount of training and the requisite skill quickly closed the disparity that was caused by this bias. This is great because simply by maintaining an attitude of continued learning, we can effectively circumvent this bias in ourselves. However, because an individual who overperceives their own skill is likely not inclined to be learning new things about a particular field, there's very little we can do about alleviating this bias in others. With that in mind, the easiest thing you can do for the sake of your own sanity is to avoid the people who suffer from this bias at extreme levels as much as possible. Thank you guys as always for watching. In terms of whether or not I'm going to continue this video series, I'm going to post two comments on this video, one saying that it should continue and one saying that it should not continue, and I just want each of you guys to upvote whichever one is your opinion. There's an almost limitless number of subjects I could cover, from the psychology of e-dating through marketing for microtransactions, predatory PvP behavior and hacking, and tons of other things. On top of that, since most of these biases are so fundamental to the human psyche, they're likely to impact the world in tons of ways, and the more you learn about them, the more you're going to perceive the way people behave differently. I'm anxious to see what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next video.